Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's lesson. Today, we're going to be learning all about object pronouns and how we can use them and identify them in a sentence. So give me one moment. I'm going to share with you our PPT so that we can get started on our lesson. Okay, give me one moment. All right, so let's begin. Here we go. So as I had mentioned, we're going to be talking about our object pronouns in a sentence. Now, before we even begin into object pronouns, I thought it would be great if we could have a review on what exactly is a pronoun. Now, a pronoun is any word that takes the place of a noun in a sentence. Remember, a noun is the subject, the person, place, thing, or idea that can happen in a sentence. So let's look over my example. So the first sentence is, Chris is a driver. As we know, Chris is a noun. Therefore, Chris is the subject, the one doing the action in the sentence. So Chris is a driver. Now that we know about Chris, we don't have to keep saying his name over and over again. We can use something called the pronoun to now refer to Chris. So instead of saying Chris drives a bus, we can say he drives a bus. We know that he is referring to Chris, so he is the pronoun. Now, before we even get into object pronouns, I think we need to do a little review of what subject pronouns are. Now, so a subject pronoun is a pronoun that does the action in a sentence. It's the doer of the action. And how we know, how we can recognize which is a subject pronoun is that they usually happen before the verb or the action in a sentence. So let's look over our sentences again. So Chris is a driver, right? So Chris is the noun. And then we know he drives a bus. So that we know that he is the one doing the action in this sentence. He drives a bus. Therefore, he is the subject pronoun of this sentence. And drives is the verb, the action. He is the one doing the driving. Therefore, he is the subject pronoun in this sentence. So there are 8 different types of subject pronouns. Now we can talk about them in the singular. That means just one, talking about one person, place, or thing, or idea. Or we can talk about it in the plural. Plural means more than one. So if we're talking about singular subject pronouns, we would use the terms I, you, he, she, or it. Now, as we know, he refers to men, she refers to women, and it is just an object, something that is not male or female, but is still a living, not necessarily living, it could be an object like a chair or a tree. But we're talking about the plural, that means more than one. We would use we, and funny enough, we would use you again if we're talking about plural. So usually when we use you in the plural sense, we would actually add a little bit of a helper word, such as like all, you all. When we say you all, we know that we're talking about more than one person. And also they is the other subject pronoun. So let's quickly go over some of our examples. I live in a house. I is the subject pronoun. Live is the verb. So the subject pronoun I comes before the verb live. I live in a house. We have a nice car. We is the subject pronoun. Have is the verb. You are watching TV. You is the subject pronoun and are is the verb. You are all studying English. So when I added that word all, you know that we're talking about more than one person. So you are all studying English. He is a very nice boy. He is the subject. We know that he is a boy, and is the verb. He is occurring before the verb in the sentence. She likes to play baseball. She is the subject pronoun. Likes is the verb. They love to play together. They, we know that we're talking about more than one, so it's a plural. Play, and play is the verb. And we know that they is happening in the sentence before the verb. It was very dark last night. So it is referring to the night, which is not a person or a place. It's kind of a thing. And so it's it, and was is the verb. Okay. So now let's move on to what an object pronoun is, okay? So if the subject pronoun is the doer of the action in a sentence, then an object pronoun is the receiver of the action in the sentence. So it's the one that the action is happening to, okay? So it can usually be found after the verb. The subject pronoun happens before the verb. The object pronoun happens after the verb. So let's look at our sentence. I saw him today. I is the subject pronoun. It happens before the verb, and he is the doer of the action in the sentence. Saw is the verb. That is what is happening in the sentence. That's the action. And him would be the object pronoun. It is the receiver of the action, and it happens and it occurs after the verb saw. So as you can see, we have excuse me, we have 8 different types of object pronouns, just like we do for subject pronouns. So we have me, you, him, her, it, us, you, and them. So as you know, as you can see, you appears twice again, like it did with the subject pronoun. It can happen in the singular, meaning one, or it can be also used in the plural, meaning more than one. So let's look over our sentences. Dave saw me today. So saw is the verb. Me is the object pronoun. It's happening after the verb. It is the action is happening to me. Dave saw me. Me is the receiver of the action in that sentence. I saw you this morning. I saw him this morning. I saw her this morning. These are all different examples of using the object pronouns you, him, and her in the similar sentence. You, him, and her are all object pronouns, and because they are receiving the action of being seen or saw. I saw it in your bedroom the other day. So it would be the object pronoun, and this was receiver of the action. You can find us on the internet. Us is the object pronoun. Find is the verb. You notice that us is occurring after the verb in the sentence. The lesson will help you all to learn English. Notice how we use the word all to go along with the object pronoun you, so that we know it's the plural sense. It's referring to more than one person. She took them to the park. So took is the verb, and them is the object pronoun, because that is who is receiving the action of being taken to the park. Now let's compare between the two, the subject pronouns and the object pronouns. Now, if we're going to be using a subject pronoun in a sentence, we could use I, you, we, he, she, it, and they. But when we use these subject pronouns, we would have the correlating object pronoun that we could use in that same sentence. So if I was to use the subject pronoun I, the object pronoun that I would appropriately use would be me. If I use the subject pronoun you, I would use the object pronoun you. If I use the subject pronoun we, I would use the object pronoun us. If I use the subject pronoun he, I would use the object pronoun him. If I use the subject pronoun she, I would use the object pronoun her. If I use the subject pronoun it, I would use the object pronoun it. If the subject pronoun they, I would use the object pronoun them. So let's look over some examples. I hope we can have ice cream for dinner. So I would be the subject pronoun, hope is the verb, and we is the object pronoun. You notice that the subject pronoun is occurring before the verb, and the object pronoun is occurring after the verb. You said that you didn't know the answer. You is the subject pronoun. Said is the verb. And the second you is the object pronoun. He brought her flowers. He is the subject pronoun. Brought is the verb. Her is the object pronoun. It's who he bought the flowers for. He, the receiver of the action. He is the doer of the action. Her is the receiver of the action, therefore the object pronoun. We rallied to bring us all to victory. We is the subject pronoun. Rallied is the verb, and us is the object pronoun. Do you understand why you are not allowed to do this? So you, it would be the subject pronoun. Understand is the verb, and the second you is the object pronoun. And finally, they are our friends and we love them. So they is the subject pronoun, are is the verb, and they is occurring before the verb, and we is the object pronoun occurring after the verb. So they is the subject pronoun, are is the verb, and we is the object pronoun. So thank you again for coming along on my object pronouns lesson. Make sure that you check your emails because I'm going to be emailing you a link to a Kahoot just as a little bit of an interactive review to make sure that you understand all there is to know about pronouns, subject pronouns, and object pronouns. Thank you again.